Brad Holmes is sticking to his guns, isn't he?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is a Tuesday edition, everybody, of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day on a Tuesday evening, March 12th, and a Wednesday, March 13th. Thanks for making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Matt Dery with you. Thanks for all of you for having some patience with me tonight. Look, yesterday I recorded the show at 5 o'clock, and in the middle of the show, the Lions signed Marcus Davenport. And then after the show, the Lions traded for Carlton Davis. So I decided to record a little bit later today, just in seeing if anything was going to go on after my usual 5 p.m. Eastern time recording. And it did. So we'll get into everything that went on with the Lions on day 2 today. Look, Brad Holmes' philosophy is reigning true. And I'm gonna have some caution with my reaction to what Lions free agency has looked like these first couple of days. We'll do that coming up on the show today right here on Locked On Lions. Our broadcast today, as I mentioned today on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions, is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions, Matt Dery Facebook fan page, on Threads, The Real Matt Dery, and also right here on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe and check us out each and every day on the program. Where to start? The Detroit Lions are not and have not made a big splash in free agency. They just haven't. And I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to be patient. And I'm not going to rip Brad Holmes today. There are many others that are upset. There are many that are saying, what are the Lions doing? How can they not build on this from last year? Why aren't they going on getting Danielle Hunter? Why aren't they going out and getting Christian Wilkins? Is this the best they're going to do? And the answer is, I want to wait until after draft weekend, April 25th through the 27th, and I want to see the big picture. I want to see everything. Could the Lions still make a big trade and make a move? Could they still go get L'Jarius Sneed? Maybe. All right, he's still available. Could the Lions do something on draft night to knock our socks off? Possibly. But I'm going to wait it out. Brad Holmes, the Lions general manager, said weeks ago, we are not in the business of winning in March. We're not in the business of winning free agency. We're in the business of winning in December and January and winning big playoff games. And I'm going to hold him to that. I'm going to hold him to, if you want to add to this team and this roster and take a team that went to the NFC Championship game and was 30 minutes away from the Super Bowl, leading by 17 points in San Francisco, that he is going to improve this roster somehow, some way. Remember last year, first couple days of free agency, not a lot was going on. Re-signed Alex Anzalone, Romeo Okwara took a pay cut, Charles Harris took a pay cut, all of these things. Today, John Kaminsky took a pay cut. The Lions didn't really break the bank in free agency. Yes, they went out and got Cam Sutton and gave him 3 years and like $10, $11 million a year. All right, and everybody lauded that, including me. But the Lions have not gone out and hit home runs. And a lot of the fans are upset. There are some media members texting me, oh, you're going to rip the team today on your podcast? No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to wait this thing out and be patient. You've got to give Holmes and Dan Campbell the benefit of the doubt. Now, if this is all they do, and then they draft some players, we like the draft, and the roster is not as good as it was a year ago, or the roster we feel hasn't gotten enough better, and Green Bay has improved, and all these other teams maybe make moves, and you look at a team like Houston Texans and what they've done, and some others in the NFC as well, then we'll talk. But right now, I'm going to give Brad Holmes the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not, nobody got to me. Nobody forced me to talk like this. Am I going nuts about Carlton Davis? No. He is not a number one corner. But let's see if the Lions go get one before I say, well, This is all they've done. Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis, these are bit players. I'm going to wait. I like Amik Robertson from the Raiders. I like that pickup. And I told you yesterday, I thought Marcus Davenport on a 1-year deal, a show-me deal for $6 million to be opposite of Aiden Hutchinson's not bad if he stays healthy. Do I want to see the Lions get more aggressive and go get another edge rusher? Yes. Would I have loved to have seen Danielle Hunter? Absolutely. But you think the Detroit Lions were going to spend $25 million a year on Danielle Hunter? No. Here's the Lions' philosophy. And I talked to somebody today within the organization that texted me. They watched the podcast. And they said, you know what we do? We draft, we develop, and we re-sign our own. Graham Glasgow played well this year, developed under Hank Fraley, and was re-signed. All right, the Lions are going to re-sign Aleem McNeil. They're going to re-sign Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're going to re-sign Taylor Decker. They're going to re-sign Jared Goff. All right, they've got to take care of their own. It's not an excuse. This is their philosophy. If they lose in the first round of the playoffs next year and other teams have bypassed them because they went out and got more talent, then we'll take Brad Holmes to task. Brad Holmes seemed a little cocky after the season. Yeah, he did. Sure. A little confident. His receipts press conference. Absolutely. Now it's put up or shut up. And if Carlton Davis plays really well on a 1-year deal, trying to get another contract, then we'll laud Brad Holmes. All right. That trade yesterday for the Lions to deal a 3rd-round pick, they get some late-round picks back for along with Carlton Davis, did not overwhelm me at all. Carlton Davis is a declining player. Look at his PFF grades the last 3 years, including a 58.2 this year. Now, a lot of the nerds and the shills will say, but in man coverage, he was great. His overall PFF grade was 58.2. He had trouble tackling. He had trouble staying healthy. John Ledgerd, our buddy that used to work at the Locked On Network with a Pewter Report and covers the Bucs, has said he cannot believe the Bucs got a 3rd-round pick for Carlton Davis, who was on the last year of his deal. And oh, by the way, is making $14 million. Carlton Davis is a good player. Is Carlton Davis an upgrade over Kindle Vildor, Will Harris, Theo Gridiron? Yes, any of them. Jerry Jacobs, yes. But PFF-wise, Jerry Jacobs and Carlton Davis's numbers aren't that different. But Carlton Davis is an upgrade. Amik Robertson was signed today. Many of you are going to say, never heard of him. Amik Robertson is 5'9", 193, but he is a scrappy as hell cornerback from the Raiders. And if you recall this year, when the Raiders beat the Packers, he had a huge interception to ice the game against Jordan Love. I like that pickup. You look at the Lions cornerbacks right now, Carlton Davis, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Amik Robertson, Brian Branch, Stephen Gilmore, and you got to figure they're going to draft one. That's a much, much better and improved cornerback room than it was a year ago. Did they go out and get that number 1 corner? No. Darius Williams got 3 years with the Rams. Brad Holmes is not handing out 3-year contracts in free agency. He just isn't. He gave Anzalone 3 years. When he got here, he re-upped Romeo Okwara 3 years. A lot of these deals that Brad Holmes has signed, yes, Cam Sutton got 3, but you know what? Mostly it's 1 and 2 year deals. Marcus Davenport's a 1-year deal. Amik Robertson's a 2-year deal. Dan Skipper's back on a 1-year deal. Marcus Davenport, 1-year deal. Carlton Davis is on the last year of his deal. See a trend here? This is what Brad Holmes does. And oh, by the way, the Lions are going to get a compensatory pick for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which I'll talk about momentarily, and for Jonah Jackson. Maybe those picks are what Brad Holmes wants as opposed to signing players. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. For now. The Lions are in very good shape, and a lot of it has to do with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and what they've done to build this roster and to get this team to the NFC Championship game. Let's not jump all over him because he didn't sign Danielle Hunter. Would I have wanted Danielle Hunter or Christian Wilkins? Yes. The Lions weren't doling out that kind of cash. They just weren't. All right, more on the newest cornerbacks. We'll get into that coming up next, right here on a Tuesday evening edition of Locked On Lions.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more with the #1 sportsbook in America. Right now, you could say goodbye to all the busted brackets because over at FanDuel, they're going to let you bet on every game all throughout the tournament. You ain't got to worry about, being out once one team gets eliminated or anything like that. You're good to go for every single game, men's side, women's side, however it is that you want to go about it. So whether you're betting on a big upset or you're betting on the favorite 1 seed, it's time to go dancing into America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers are going to get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go pick one of those outweighted matchups of the #1 seed going up against the last seed and make sure that you end up winning that $5 bet because you'll win a little bit off of that, but then you also get that $200 in bonus bets you can use on point spreads, money lines, and much more. And of course, you can even pick who you think will win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops till they cut the nets down.
Hi, welcome back. Locked On Lions on a Tuesday edition, Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Everydayers, thank you for watching or listening each and every day right here on this very podcast. One thing that I love seeing right now is a couple of things around the NFC North. Aaron Jones to the Vikings is just a beautiful FU to the Packers. It's awesome. The Packers told Aaron Jones they were bringing him back. Then in the middle of free agency day one, after all the running backs were taken, DeAndre Swift taken on 8 years, Tony Pollard 8 years, Saquon gets a big money deal from the Eagles. The Packers decide to sign Josh Jacobs for $12 million and send Aaron Jones packing, and he has to settle for a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Vikings. But I love the pettiness that Aaron Jones has by staying in the division and basically middle fingering his former team, the Packers, and saying, watch this, I'm playing against you twice a year. I love that. And our executive producer, as I like to call him, Nathan Litke, who watches and listens each and every day and sends me all sorts of materials, friend of the show, friend of mine, is like, hey, what's up with Hall of Fields? Yeah, no one wants Justin Fields. Are you noticing all these other quarterbacks? I said this yesterday. I might be repeating myself. The Chicago media that just lathers up in that Fields butter, they got to be beside themselves. Nobody wants this guy. He's no trade value either. Heck, Jameis Winston is finding a home before Justin Fields. How about that Browns quarterback room with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston? Two nice guys. Good luck with that. All right. I mentioned Amik Robertson before. Started 12 games for the Raiders, 21 games over his career. He was a former 4th round pick a few years ago. 4 interceptions last year, 5'9", 193. He is exactly the type of player that Aaron Glenn is looking for. Nickel guy, slot guy, depth piece. Lions face a lot of 4 wide receiver looks. And last year, toward the end of the year, the Lions were playing basically 3 safeties on the field with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, and Ifeatu Melifonwu. And Kendall Vildor obviously had to play a lot. Brian Branch was playing a lot. Certainly Cam Sutton. The Lions have a better cornerback room now, and I like the signing of Amik Robertson. As far as Carlton Davis goes, like I said earlier, underwhelming. I wouldn't have sent a 3rd round pick to the Bucs for him. Tre'Davious White, there's a lot of, Darius Williams. There were a lot of cornerbacks in free agency. It wasn't a great cornerback class, but there were plenty of guys out there. Trading a pick to go get a guy that has not been as good the last few years, that's been injury prone, that has not tackled well, is a little bit of a mystery to me. Now, Carlton Davis a few years ago on the Super Bowl winning Bucs 3 years ago was awesome. But he's not a #1 corner. Playing in the last year of his contract on a 1-year deal to prove that he can go get another big check, I'm in for. I hope he plays better than he's played the last couple of years. I know he played very well against the Lions in the 2 games the 2 teams played this year. Maybe that's the kind of tape that Brad Holmes was watching. I'm going to give Holmes the benefit of the doubt again about Carlton Davis. There are other corners still out there. I still think the Lions are going to draft a corner at some point. I'm not sure it's going to be in the first round because right now, if you look out there and go, all right, the Lions are going to start the season and need 3 corners on the field. It's going to be Carlton Davis, Brian Branch, Cam Sutton. Is Emmanuel Mosley going to be ready? Is Amik Robertson just your 3rd or 4th corner? What about Stephen Gilmore getting a chance? So they've got all of a sudden they've got some depth there. They still got to figure they're going to draft a corner at some point. You look at it now as to what has gone on in free agency, and you look at what the Lions have done and whom they brought in, of course, re-signing Graham Glasgow, but they don't have a left guard right now. So you have to figure at 29, it's going to be an offensive lineman that they feel they can plug and play at left guard for the next 5 to 6 years. Brad Holmes drafted Penei Sewell. Brad Holmes brought Graham Glasgow back. Brad Holmes, has a lot of faith in Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker. Brad Holmes drafted Colby Sorsdahl, who maybe will get an opportunity. But you have to figure, at least for right now, that the Lions are going to be looking heavily at offensive line at number 29, something Jeff Risdon from the Lions Wires, who put it out last week, wrote last week. But the Lions are better at corner right now. Vildor gone, Harris gone, Jacobs gone. Adding Davis, adding Robertson, and re-signing Mosley is an upgrade. But I'm not doing jumping jacks or backflips over it at the moment. As far as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes, this is very interesting. I'm a little bit surprised. He got 3 years and reportedly $27 million with a chance to earn $33 million to return to the Philadelphia Eagles. I watched Chauncey Gardner-Johnson the last couple of games in the playoffs for the Lions, and I went, that is a guy I'm not bringing back. Didn't play well. Graded out poorly. Missed tackles. Now, again, maybe some rust because of the injury. All right. Came back and immediately started barking about playing time. Lions can get a compensatory draft pick for CJGJ depending on how much he plays and how much money he earns with bonuses and everything else. So at least the Lions have that going for them. All right. But I'm stunned. That's another guy I wouldn't have gone near. And the Eagles are bringing him back. The Eagles have made some very interesting moves. You drop DeAndre Swift and let him walk, and then you sign Saquon for more money, paying a running back a lot of money. And then the Gardner-Johnson thing is interesting. Philadelphia still has a very good roster, and I don't know what happened at the end of last year, but a lot of heat on Sirianni, certainly. But if they can get their act together, they're going to be a good team. But last year, second half, they just completely collapsed. All is not done when you talk about who could still be available for the Lions. Again, I just want to stress, would I have taken Brian Burns on this team? Yes. Were you paying him $30 million a year? No. Would I have taken Danielle Hunter? Absolutely. Danielle Hunter opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Were you paying him $25 million a year? No. I think the Lions are playing the compensatory draft pick game. I think they're playing the draft, develop, and re-sign game. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to see some kind of new contract for Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jared Goff or Aleem McNeil sooner rather than later, using some of that money to keep their own around. That would not surprise me. I mentioned before, keeping their own around. Dan Skipper is reportedly coming back, the backup offensive lineman, on a 1-year deal. Why not? Dan Skipper is beloved in that locker room. He can play anywhere along the offensive line as a depth guy. Dan Campbell loves him. And he's the modern day Andre Fluellen. He just keeps coming back. Again, you want to keep quality, passionate, I want to be Lions around. So I have no issue with that. It's not going to cost a lot of money, probably like $1 million. So it's been a wild couple days, but it's not been that wild down at 222 Rodwood Drive. There are still players available for the Lions that they could still go get. It's not over yet. Free agency isn't done. They're not turning the lights out on it. There are still players available that maybe Brad Holmes is waiting out to get as on a bargain. I mean, Josh Uche was reportedly offered by some teams, we don't know who those teams were, like 2 years and $15 million, which I would have loved for the Lions as another edge rusher. And he stayed with the Patriots on a 1 year, $3 million deal. That would have been a guy I would have loved to have seen in Honolulu blue and silver. All right, coming up next, who are some more players the Lions still could get? There's still players available. We'll tell you about that. Coming up next here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of us spend times wishing throughout our lives that we had more time. Question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? Best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. That's why therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. If you're thinking about starting up therapy, I'd give BetterHelp a try. They're really awesome. All right. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And the great thing about BetterHelp is fill out a brief questionnaire. It's brief. Get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. All right. It benefits you to talk to somebody. Get somebody neutral in your corner. Let some of your feelings out and have a conversation with somebody. BetterHelp's the way to go. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. By the way, my favorite signing today that I saw, Patrick Queen getting 3 years with the Steelers. Again, guy staying within the division. This is like kooky talk. It's crazy. Ravens and Steelers and Patrick Queen. I can't believe Baltimore didn't keep him. And I know they got Roquan Smith, but Patrick Queen is a stud linebacker. Oh my God, flies all over the field. 3 years, reported $41 million with the Steelers to stay in the division with a rival. Amazing. Amazing. That's a great pickup for Pittsburgh. I hated the Russell Wilson signing, but Patrick Queen, chef's kiss, man. That guy's awesome. All right. I got some names of some players that are still available as we're recording here at 10 o'clock. Eric Armstead remains out there. Niners are letting him walk. That's another guy I would put next to Aleem McNeil all day. Same goes with DJ Reader. We know the Lions are interested. Right? Maybe the price tag has to come down for Brad Holmes to pull the trigger. We'll see. I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if he fits this town and this organization after what we saw in the playoff game. Chase Young is available. And the D-tackle Sheldon Rankins is another player that I think could fit Detroit. Heck, just look up anybody that was on the Saints or anybody on Jacksonville with Deshae Townsend the last couple of years, or anybody that has like Tennessee ties, like with Terrell Williams. The Lions usually like that. Rams ties with Brad Holmes. All right. Let's see if that's where the Lions go. But those are the types of players that are still available for Detroit. I don't think the Lions are going to go into the draft without signing some sort of interior defensive lineman at free agency or another edge rusher. What I found interesting was, as we knew coming into free agency, John Kaminsky was counting close to $6 million against the salary cap. Today, the commish, and who was it on Twitter that was telling me I needed to say, follow me at Dery Speaks, by the way. Somebody was, one of our everydayers was begging me. I got to find it here. Oh, Gavin Hansen said, can you refer to the commish taking a pay cut as taking a haircut today on the pod? I work in the financial industry, financial services industry at Financial Architects as our marketing and business development director. And sometimes I always hear, yeah, you're taking a haircut on that. I can't stand that term. But Gavin, for you, yes, John Kaminsky got a haircut, or the Lions took a haircut. He was scheduled to, like I said, count against the cap about $6 million, and he took a pay cut, and now his cap number is only $2.5 million. So, look, last year, Romeo Okwara took a pay cut. Vaitai took a pay cut. Charles Harris took a pay cut. None of that worked out. John Kaminsky had a really good year 2 years ago, and he's active, and he can tackle, great in the locker room. Him taking a pay cut to stay, to free up some money is fine with me. It's fine. He's just to play better. You know, we need to see more from the commission. We need to see more from Onzarike. We need to see more from Josh Pascal. Marcus Davenport, who the Lions signed yesterday. Stay healthy, my dude. Stay healthy. He can get to the quarterback. But I don't think the Lions are done. I think they're going to add an interior D lineman and another edge rusher. Question is who and at what price? All right, we'll have updates tomorrow on the Wednesday Locked On Lions. Tomorrow, we'll also try to chase down John Ledyard, who knows everything about the Bucs, and get his thoughts on Carlton Davis. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. This has been a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts.